What's up, guys? Welcome into Cover 7. I'm not dead. I am still alive. I know it's been a few months. I'm not going to lie to you guys. It was nice taking a couple months off from football. Obviously, the last time I spoke, I think we had the national championship game. It was a damn good game. And something I want to talk about today a little bit before we start getting into this 2026 season of college football. I want to go through some things real quickly here. First and foremost, thank you to everyone who's stayed subscribed to the channel. I truly, truly appreciate that. I started super late, right up until basically week 0 last year when I started this channel, kind of on a whim. It's been a lot of fun. We've grown. I've met a ton of cool people over here. So if you're still subscribed, thank you. If you're not, I hope you do. I hope you enjoy the content over here. I know it's only May. I don't get real big into the recruiting thing, so I really don't talk about that much or follow it a ton. There's a lot of other channels that do that. But I wanted to throw this out there today, kind of just show you guys, one, A, I'm alive. And two, I want to talk about my top 5 best teams I've ever seen in college football. Now, there's a couple caveats here, and we'll get into it here in a second, but this is pretty subjective. I heard a lot of people after the national championship game, particularly Indiana people, best team of all time, 16-0. You know, they never got beat, Heisman Trophy winner, all that, the way that season went. Now, it was a remarkable season. I got in some heated debates on other forums, bars, and other places about this, but look, we'll get into it. We'll just start right now. And here's the deal. Here's the caveat. A couple things here. I know the internet is a very sensitive place. I know this is a very sensitive topic. I'm going to start from when I started watching football. Okay. I was born in 1985. I remember watching college football probably 91, 92-ish. Probably didn't exactly know what the hell was going on or who all the good teams were. Now, football has changed a ton. I think we all know that over the years, depending on how old you are. But yeah, we're going to start in 1992. That's where I'm going to start. I do remember this Alabama team. I'll go through each team here and talk about them a little bit because I do remember, and I've watched every single one of these national championship games. As you guys know, college football is my thing. But I'm going to try to throw my bias aside. If you guys don't know, I'm a massive Nebraska Cornhusker fan. So I kind of came up in the right era. Unfortunately, we are completely irrelevant anymore nowadays, have been for the last 20 years. That's a topic for another day. I harp on them enough. But we'll talk about each and every team here a little bit. I'm going to give you my top 5. Now, again, the other caveat, this is my top 5. I do not expect you guys to agree with me or even find my list even halfway respectable. Probably you guys are going to be like, no, 23 Michigan should be number 1, blah, blah, blah. I mean, you can make a case for any team here. Obviously, all these teams on this list are all-time great. They won a national championship. It's very hard to do. I know this being a Husker fan. So we'll get into it. I'll ramble through some of these fairly quickly. I won't try to stick on one team too much. While I'm going through the list, I'll tell you which 5 are on my list, and then I'll give you my order at the end. So let's get into it here, guys. It's just a little fun here. We'll start with Alabama. Now, I don't remember a ton about this team like I alluded to. I do remember watching this game. Alabama, this was kind of before the Nick Saban, obviously, era, right? But Alabama back in the day was really, really good. They did get one here in 92. Very good football team. We'll move on. 1993 Florida State. Guess who they beat? My Nebraska Cornhuskers. Crazy enough, this was nuts because I'll remember this national championship game. If you guys remember, if you're a Florida State fan, you remember a guy by the name of Charlie Ward. Now, I'm a huge basketball nut as well. It was crazy to me that this guy won a Heisman with Florida State and a national championship over my Cornhuskers, and I was heartbroken. I'm not going to lie. It came down to a field goal at the end of that game. The guy was drafted the NBA. It was a starting point guard for the Knicks forever. That's how good an athlete this dude was. People don't talk about him enough. Everybody talks about Bo Jackson, rightfully so, Deion Sanders, these guys that played cross sports, but people forget about Charlie Ward, dude. This guy was an insane athlete. Not baseball, football, basketball, football. That's pretty nuts to do. To be a Heisman Trophy winner in college football, then turn around and be a stud in the NBA and have a long-time career. So I just wanted to throw that out there about that 93 Florida State team. They did beat my Huskers, but then my Huskers won 2 in a row. One of these teams is on my list. I think you guys probably know which one it is. Both these teams were really good. I'm not going to talk about them too much right now. Obviously, I'm a Husker fan. I could talk about them all day. 96 Florida. I believe it was Danny Warfel. Nebraska beat a lot of those guys on that Florida team in 95, beat the shit out of them. But that 96 Florida team, Steve Spurrier, they won one there. That team was really, really good. A very good team. I remember the Florida Gators in the 90s were ridiculous. So was Florida State and Miami. You guys probably don't believe me here, being a Midwest guy. I used to wake up every Saturday and it seemed like either Miami was playing Florida or Florida was playing Florida State or vice versa. Those teams were all so good, all in the top 5 every single year. It was like the highlight of my grade school days on Saturday watching college football. And I remember having a lot of respect for these teams. So with that being said, we're moving on. Michigan and Nebraska split it 97. Still pisses me off. I still wish we could have played that game. That 97 Nebraska team was very good. Obviously, so was that Michigan team. The thing I remember the most out of the year was probably Charles Woodson winning the Heisman. That was a really good team. You guys remember a guy by the name of Ryan Leaf? Washington State was in that, kind of that 14 playoff thing there at the end. And then I believe it was Tennessee and Peyton Manning, because that's who Nebraska beat. We beat the shit out of them. Nothing against Tennessee, but that was a really good Tennessee team as well. But I wanted to see Michigan play Nebraska. I think everybody did. Both teams were undefeated. Moving on, 1998, Tennessee. They end up winning it this year. Everybody thinks that was Peyton Manning's senior year. It was not. They were led by T. Martin. That team was really good. I believe that receiver they had was Peerless Price. He was a stud as well. But very good Tennessee team there for sure. 1999, Florida State, very good team here. They got that one in the bag as well. I do remember watching that game. And then 2000, Oklahoma. People don't talk about 2000 Oklahoma very much. That was Bob Stoops' only national championship. That team had a hellacious defense. I do remember that. I want to say they played Florida State for the national championship. Maybe I'm wrong there. I can't remember every single one of these as far as who they all played, but that Oklahoma team was really good. I may be wrong about that. I just remember it was a really low scoring game, if I'm not mistaken. 2001 Miami. Who'd they beat? My Huskers. That team is on my list. I'll tell you more about that one in the end. I'll talk about that team a ton. That team was insane. 2002 Ohio State, one of the more interesting, controversial national championship games at the end. That game went into overtime. Everybody remembers that play. Ohio State ended up winning that. 2003 LSU, Southern Cal, both split it. I believe Les Miles, was this his or no, it was not Les Miles. That would have been, it was Les Miles, right? That's who won that one, or is it Saban who won that one? I don't remember. I get these flipped around because in 2007, that had to be Les Miles. Saban won in 2003. God, correct me if I'm wrong here. It's terrible. I do know what I'm talking about. But that LSU team in 2003 was really good. Obviously, Southern Cal had a run here where they were insanely good. I remember the Southern Cal team a lot more. And then 2004, that team is on my top 5 list. I'll talk about them more in a minute. That team was loaded. Obviously, and then 2005, they played for the national championship, and probably my favorite or best national championship game I've ever seen. That Texas team in 05, kind of an outlier year. Not that Texas wasn't good under Mac Brown. They were. That was the Vince Young year. Has one of the most iconic plays at the end with Vince Young on that scamper to beat that Southern Cal team. That was a crazy fun football game to watch. One I will remember for the rest of my life. 2006 Florida. This was kind of a streak year for Florida football. Tim Tebow and those teams under Urban Meyer, they were really, really good. LSU obviously gets that one in 2007. And then obviously Florida got it again. So those Florida teams, very, very good. They are not on my list. I don't have them as like all-time great. They were really good. Don't get me wrong. To make this list, you have to be good. I know Florida fans think probably both these teams should be on the list, and I'm not going to argue with you there. Tim Tebow, in my opinion, probably the best college football player of all time that I've seen. He was unbelievable as a college football player. Now, I'm not trying to get in his NFL career or anything like that. Just because you're a great college football player doesn't mean you're going to be a good NFL player. We know that, and vice versa. And then obviously Alabama here starts this streak under Saban. I'm just going to tell you guys right now, I'm going to group this whole Alabama thing in together because it was the most unreal thing I've ever seen for that long a time. I don't have any of the Alabama teams in my top 5. Why? Because I don't know which one I'd put in there. They were all really good. 2015 stands out to me a ton with that team. 2017 was really good. A lot of these teams, the first couple Nick Saban national championship teams were really relying on their defense. I mean, we can't even name half the quarterbacks on those teams unless you're an Alabama fan. They didn't throw the ball a lot. They ran the ball a ton, and they were just so dominant defensively and running the football. They were unbelievable. Don't get me wrong. Those teams were crazy good. Moving on here, so we'll skip over this Alabama run a little bit. The 2010 Auburn team was really, really good. Everybody kind of forgets about them. I wouldn't put them all-time great, but they were really good. Auburn football needs to get back to Auburn football, by the way. You guys know me on this channel. I've been kind of critical of Auburn. They kind of fall in the same category as Nebraska in a way. Auburn, though, has had some really good teams. They've always been known as a pretty damn good football team. Unfortunately, Alabama is in that same state, and you know how that goes. But moving on, Auburn, really good team in 2010. And then we had Alabama again here back to back. I'm not going to talk about those too much. And then there's a team right here in 2013. I have this 2013 team on my list. I will talk about them more in a minute. I'm sure that probably shocks some people. A lot of people got some pretty harsh things to say about this 2013 Florida State team, but we'll talk about them more in a minute. They were really good. Obviously, 2014 Ohio State. I'm going to stop right here. While I am a Big Ten homer, Ohio State every year is competing for a national championship. They have been most of my life. It's hard for me to distinguish which Ohio State team was better. Every year they have good teams. I think there's years where they didn't win it, and those teams are better than some of the teams that have won it on here. I'm just being honest here. So I don't have any Ohio State teams on there. Ohio State is like the pinnacle outside of probably Alabama in my lifetime. That is always just really freaking good every single year. That's the expectation there, is to win a national championship. Nothing against Buckeye fans. Moving on, Alabama again. That 2015 team, though, by the way, I think that was Derrick Henry's year. That guy was unbelievable. That team was unbelievable. If I had to put one Alabama team on my list, it would be that Alabama team. Moving on, then Clemson has a short run here, dude, where under Dabo, which is crazy, it doesn't seem like it was that long ago. I've been super critical of him of late, especially the last couple of years. Clemson was unbelievable. Deshaun Watson, Trevor Lawrence, those guys, and the players they had on those teams were ridiculous. The defensive players. These Clemson teams were really good too. I actually had to think about that a little bit with some of these Clemson teams, especially 2018 Clemson with me. 2016 team was really good too with Deshaun Watson. God, that team was good too. That one's a tough one. I didn't put either of them on my list. We got Alabama in there, and they were compete with Alabama. This stretch here was just crazy between those two schools. And then obviously in 2019, this is everybody's favorite if you're a newborn. They are on my list. I'll talk about them more in a minute. 2020 Alabama, hard for me to put them on a top five because of the COVID year, reduced schedules, all that stuff. That Alabama team was really good. Don't get me wrong. Not throwing any shade there. I just, the whole COVID year when it comes to the NBA, we talked about the Lakers one time on here about that. I just don't count that as a championship. I'm not saying that this doesn't count college football. It's just, I don't put a lot of stock into that. Hopefully I don't piss Alabama fans off, but that's just my take on that COVID year. It was a weird year for everything. And then we're going to talk about 21 and 22 Georgia. I don't have either of these two teams on my top five. I will say this, though. That 21 defense is in my top five defenses of all time. It might be the best defense of all time. That 21 Georgia team was unbelievable. The amount of players drafted off that team, and even 22 as well, is ridiculous. Those two teams were really, really good. I think 21 had a loss, right, to Alabama in the SEC championship game. They played them in the national championship game. I can't put a one-loss team in my top five. I just can't do it. 23 Michigan. This team was really good, and a lot of debate here. I don't want to get stuck on this too much. I can't put them in there because they were caught cheating. That's just me. I know other people on YouTube have talked about this as well. It's a very controversial topic with Michigan. I'm not trying to piss off Michigan fans. I'm not saying other teams weren't doing it. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that team for me is almost impossible to put on any list because of all the allegations, the storm after the whole fact, and still some of the drama that still goes on there today. I will say this, though. That team was insanely good, though. If they weren't cheating and all that shit was happening, the way they dominated their schedule, 15-0, won the Natty, they would probably make a top 10 for me. That team was really, really good. 2024 Ohio State. This team, hard for me to put on the list because they lost 2 games, but they might have played the best stretch of football I've seen when they had to play the playoffs. Now, it's harder as the years go on to make a top 5 all-time list because, one, teams are playing more games. The playoff keeps expanding. You have to go on 3 or 4 game run here to even win a national championship, which that Ohio State team did, and it was really impressive. They beat the soul out of everybody essentially on that run. That team was really good, though, too. Every Ohio State team is, And then 2025 Indiana, For me, I was on this team a lot last year, if you guys remember, especially after they beat Illinois. I said they were probably the best team in the country. They were the best team I'd seen all year long, and obviously they lived up to it. The thing here, though, with this Indiana team is they didn't have a bunch of 5 stars. That's what the story was with Stegnetti and this team was basically he took 2 and 3 stars, made them play like 5 stars. They run the table 16-0. Mendoza won the Heisman. He came out of nowhere to win it. I mean, it's just a ridiculous year. I don't think we're going to see another year like that for a long time. And in my opinion, I will say this, while I don't think they're one of the top 5 greatest teams of all time, they did their job better than anybody, and his coaching job and that coaching staff did the best job I've ever seen in college football, maybe of all time in any sport. You guys got to remember, before he got there, 2 years before he got there, dude, they were the worst team in college football, all time, like record wise. And 2 years later, and then that 2-year span, they've only lost 2 games and they've won a national championship. It's an unbelievable job. You guys know the story there. I don't have to stick on it too much. So let's talk about my top 5 here. Again, guys, if you're still around, I appreciate you listening to me. I tried to ramble through that as quick as I could. This is my top 5. You can argue with me down in the comments. I would love to hear your top 5, but here is my top 5 here. The 5th on my list is Florida State in 2013. Why? They were 14-0. They averaged 51.6 points per game. They only gave up 12, which is pretty crazy. Everybody remembers this year there was a lot of drama, and why people will not count them probably in their top 5 or top 10 or top 20 is because of all the off-the-field drama and issues with this team. This team had a lot of people get in trouble with the police, all sorts of shit, felonies, and all that kind of crap. Jameis Winston was one of them. He was the quarterback of that team. He had an insane year, 4,000 yards, 40 touchdowns, ridiculous year. Devontae Freeman, I believe, was on that team. Kelvin Benjamin, who caught the game winner, I believe, in that national championship game, if my memory serves me correct, with like 13 seconds to go. They played Auburn. Obviously, that Auburn team was really good. Jalen Ramsey, who's still playing in the NFL, was on that team. LaMarcus Joyner, PJ Williams. They had a ton of studs on this team. And like I mentioned, they did beat Auburn, I believe, 34-31. That was a really good national championship game, by the way. People kind of forget about that one. But they had 22 future pro players on that team as well. So pretty loaded team. That Florida State team, to me, makes my top 5 barely. Number 4 on my list, 2004 USC. 13-0, 38.2 points per game. They only gave up 13 points per game. They were led by Matt Leinart. If you guys remember that stretch, I talked about it here. USC under Pete Carroll was ridiculous for a 4-year stretch there. This, I do believe, was their best team. Leinart, like I said, won the Heisman that year. Lindale White was on that team. Reggie Bush, everybody's favorite player. That guy was ridiculous. He put up video game numbers. Dwayne Jarrett, you guys remember him at wide receiver, ridiculously good. Sean Cody on defense. Lofa on defense. And then who that was? Patterson. They had just a bunch of big name NFL guys on that team as well. They beat the soul out of Oklahoma. And that Oklahoma team I thought was good. I thought it was going to be a way better game than 55-19, but USC trounced them pretty badly in that national championship game. They produced 38 NFL draft picks from that team. That is insanity from a college football team. So, yeah, 7 first-round picks as well, dude. Think about that off that 2004 USC national championship team. Moving on, number 3. This one gets a little heated here. I got 2019 LSU. Why? 15-0. Averaged 48.4 points per game. That is a ton. They did give up 22 points per game, which obviously their defense doesn't get talked about. And I wouldn't say they had an elite level defense. Why? They didn't need to. Joe Burrow, he's my favorite player in the NFL, probably had the single greatest season in college football history, in my opinion. Dude threw for over 5,600 yards and 60 touchdowns. That's not a typo. 60 touchdowns. Pretty crazy. Notable players on that team: my boy Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Terrence Marshall. They had Chasen on defense. Derek Stingley Jr. was on that defense, just to name a few. They beat a really, really good Trevor Lawrence-led Clemson team that year, guys, 42-25 in the national championship game. That Clemson team was really, really good. We'd be talking about them a lot more if it wasn't for this just crazy kind of outlier year out of LSU in 2019. Probably the best offense I had ever seen in college football. I think they could outscore anybody. I really do. Just crazy, crazy good. 32 NFL draft picks off that team. This is kind of a cool stat as well. 21 of the 22 starters from the national championship game were drafted. That kind of shows you how loaded that team was in 2019 for LSU. Wow, here we go. Number 2, and this is split for me. I've talked about this before. I believe on a live show last year. There's 1A and there's 1B, and it's the same for me. I'm going to talk about 2001 Miami. I think you guys know where I'm going here with the other one, 95 Nebraska. It is split. I am a Husker fan, maybe a little biased, but I'm not biased to the 2001 Miami team. You know why? Because they beat my Huskers. And that team, there's a lot of stats out there. It gets thrown around a lot. Probably the most dominant team of all time in college football. I would agree with that statement. Just a few stats here, guys. If you don't know, they were 12-0. Average margin of victory was 33 points per game. That is crazy. They averaged 43 points per game. They only gave up 9.4. 9.4 points per game given up. That's ridiculous. Beat my Huskers, like I said, firsthand, 37-14 in the national championship game. That game could have been 60-14. They beat the shit out of us from start to finish. That Nebraska team probably didn't deserve to be there. They lost to Colorado, I believe, in the Big 12 title game, got our asses kicked, and somehow we got in. Regardless, didn't matter. Nobody was beating this team in 2001. I don't know if anybody would beat this team now. This team was ridiculous. I'm not a Miami homer by any means. That team was insane. They were led by quarterback Ken Dorsey. And if my memory serves me right on this, I believe he was sacked like once in 2 years. That O-line he had, ridiculous. That team was insane. Other studs on this team, and this is not even, I'm not even mentioning the other 75% of them. Clinton Portis, Willis McGahee, Kellen Winslow Jr., Frank Gore, Andre Johnson, Sean Taylor, rest in peace, and Ed freaking Reed. That's just to name a few. Like I said, most dominant team ever, most loaded roster I've ever seen. 38 players from that team were drafted in the NFL, and 3 more actually signed, which is 41 in total. Yeah, okay, whatever. Ridiculous. The other stat that I threw this out here last year too, and I always throw this out here. I believe I'm correct on this one too. If that Miami team in 2001 wouldn't have scored not a single offensive touchdown, they still would have went 9-3. Just think about that for a second. That's embarrassing. My Huskers right now can't go 9-3 if their life depended on it or if they wanted to. And this team could have not scored a single offensive touchdown, still went 9-3. That's how good this team was, guys. I watched this team that whole year, and I remember from start to finish thinking, damn, this might be the best team I've ever seen. Which brings me to my 1A, 1B situation here, 1995 Nebraska. This is also argued as one of the greatest teams of all time. I agree with this. Yes, I am a little biased. This team was ridiculous. 12-0. They averaged, get this, the most points per game ever, 53 points per game. They only gave up, obviously, 13.6, which isn't bad either. Average margin of victory was 38. That is ridiculous. That's over 5 touchdowns. And that sounds about right. I still believe that's a record to this day. I do know, though, this one always kills me because we did run option football. So, okay, they averaged over 400 yards per game on the ground, which is pretty remarkable to think about. They were led, and this guy doesn't get talked about enough as greatest college quarterbacks of all time. Kind of pisses me off. I will fight people on this one. I don't think maybe he's number 1, but I do think he's top 3. Tommy Frazier. Yes, I know he didn't have the NFL career, but this guy played for 3 or 4 national championships, something like that. It was insane. He was great. Also had one of the best backfields I've ever seen in my life. Lawrence Phillips. A lot of controversy with that guy. That guy was insane. He was Adrian Peterson before Adrian Peterson. They had Ahman Green. If you guys don't remember him, Google that guy. Played a long time with the Packers in the NFL. He was on that team as well. So loaded on offense. One of the best offensive lines of all time as well in 95. No, on defense, they had some really, really great college football players. Grant Whitstrom, Jared Tomage, the Peter brothers. One badass linebacker, Terrell Farley. Husker fans remember that name. That guy was a badass dude. And they also had Mike Minner, who is, I believe, a Hall of Famer in the NFL. He played like 16 years for like the Panthers. That guy was a stud. So 33 players off that 1995 team that were drafted. So very good football team there. Like I said, guys, this is just my list. And this is from 1992 and on. I didn't get to watch, 71 Huskers or 1988, I think Notre Dame or any of those teams. I was too little. So I get that some of y'all that are older than me probably remember some of those teams, the Penn State teams back with Paterno back in the day. I get it. Like I said, I 100% understand it. I also don't like really comparing eras either. That's another thing. It's really hard about this. all these teams are great. Every team to ever win a national championship for the most part is great, right? Like, it's hard to do. Trust me, for a guy who's a Husker fan now, we struggle to make freaking bowl games. It's crazy how good like my Huskers were in the 90s. I was fortunate enough to get to watch that. That's what really drew me into college football and probably why I'm here today doing this. So, but yeah, let me know down in the comments what you guys think. Until then, guys, we got a ton of content coming out here within the next couple weeks. I'm going to start getting rolling on season predictions. I'm going to go, records for a majority of the teams in the power conferences. I'll even give you guys winner and losers. We'll see how bad I can do there at the end of the football season. We'll come back and laugh at some of those videos. But yeah, I got a lot coming up, guys. I appreciate the support. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Love y'all, and we'll see you next time.